Hi, I'm Nick and I'm the CTO and co-founder of DeepSea Developments. And in this video, we're going to answer the question, is it possible to have a hardware remote team to be able to do things like this board or this, even this? And the short answer is yes, with the right tools and mindset. The objective of this video is to talk about what are the tools, tips, etc. that will help us to have a remote team. We all know that working with electronics, with hardware, means that you need a set of tools, not only the electronic circuits, but also things to assemble it, test it, etc. So if we see a comparison with software development, we know that in software development, you can do almost all the work having basically a laptop, energy, and internet. And of course, Stack Overflow. That will help us to make search everything around what's the current issue of a book or something like that. And with this, you are able, as a software engineer or a software developer, to work from the beach. That's great. But in electronics, you, as I told, need several tools. So for us, unfortunately, this is not the case. We cannot work from the beach. And why do I talk about this? Because it's a reality. Remote work is here to stay. If we see some data, we see that before pandemics, the 81% of the people, the developers, were working on site and only 19% remotely. While after lockdown, we see that 86% it's working remotely, only 14 on site. And this is one thing that will remain. There are many of that percentage of the remote team that are willing to quit their job before going back to regular being on site 100%. So it's something that we have to take into account. Also, remote work brings us a wide variety of advantage, and it's that when you're working on site, you can only go or work with the people that are in your city or maybe in your country that are willing to relocate to your city where you will have your main offices. But with remote work, you are able to access a wide variety of talents all over the world that you could not access otherwise. So let's get into it. I'm going to talk about two things. One is the tools or things to have in mind around people management, the team management. To be able to create a great product, you need a team. And the other, a little bit more on the tool sides. What are the tools? What are the things that you need in order to be able to do remote work? Okay, so let's talk first about the team side of it. I'm not going to go deeper in this topic. There's a lot of companies that have done remote work even before pandemic, so they have lots of documents, videos on how to do it correctly. I'm just going to go through some of the things that I find most important that we have applied in the company. So yeah, the first tip is communication is key. That's important in every context, on-site, remote. We have seen teams fail not because of the capabilities of the engineers or the developers, but the communication. So this is something to have in mind always. The other aspect that has to do with remote work, and it has been said in a couple of videos, is that if you are going to be remote, you have to be 100% remote. Even if you have or you need people in your office, if you have an office, it's important that if you have a video meeting, all of the people that are involved are online with their own accounts. Because if we have a meeting with 5 people in the office and just one person offline or in other place, then that person will feel kind of an outcast, because you see a video meeting where there's 5 people that are maybe discussing internal things there, and the other person will miss the details of the thing. So that's something to have in mind. That's very important. I'm gonna talk to you about a couple of tools that we have used to improve communication. Those are these tools. We have Notion, Discord, and GitLab in general repositories. So I'm gonna talk to you first about Notion. Notion, it's, if you don't know Notion, it's an incredible tool. You have to check it out. It's something like Wikipedia, where you can put information and organize it and tag people and do kind of a spreadsheets or databases. So it's a very interesting tool, and we use it as the center of knowledge. In an on-site situation, you're working, you're a developer, and you have a question about where's this file, what's the status of this task, or things like that. So what you do, you go through your coworker that is next to you and you ask them, where is this file or whatever. But the problem is that if when you go remote, that person could be in your same city, but also can be in another state, in another country, or even in a country where the time zone is opposite. So you cannot ask that person because it's midnight where they live. So the idea of Notion is that it is the person next to you. So if you want to see where's the file or things like that, you go to Notion, and you have to structure it well so people find it things easier. And it's a tool that we also share with our clients, so they can also see how is the organization of the project. The second tool is Discord. When we need to have discussions with the team, something that it's not where's the file, but let's talk about this, we use Discord for that. We used to use Slack and video calls in Zoom or Meets, but we changed that for Discord, as it has a couple of things together. So one of the things is that it has voice channels, also have text channels, so we can have a discussion in text or write in the video right there. The interesting thing is that you can see in those voice channels who is in that meeting in that moment. So one of the things that is lost from on-site work versus remote is that when you're on-site, you can be working on something and hear another team that is working on other project, and then you can say like, yeah, I know about that. I solved this 3 months ago. So you can walk there and help them to get things going. That's how our team works. It's very participate. But in the remote side, you cannot do that. It's difficult. You don't have a coffee break to go talk with them. So by having those voice channels, we name it workrooms. We have 3 workrooms where everyone can go there and work, and we have the policy that all the people can jump into the meeting anytime regarding anything. You're not in the project, doesn't matter, you can go in, you can hear, and if you have something to say, you can do it. So this way we can incentivize these kind of interactions that were natural for an office environment. And if the team needs to have a private meeting or something like that, they can easily have it still on Discord. They can have a private call, or they can use another platforms like Google Meet to do the meeting, and it's fine. But if there's something that is not like private or something like that, then we encourage them to work on those groups. The third tool is GitLab, or repositories in general. GitLab is the one that we use the most, but there's GitLab, GitHub, Bitbucket. They are pretty much the same for us. You just have to know Git and how to interact with them. And it's important that these platforms are mostly known for code. So you can have software development, firmware development going there, but you can also integrate hardware development into that. You can have a file on Altium, Keycode, Eagle, any other CAD program, and put it there and have a history of what you have done. And one of the things that we also apply is a methodology called GitFlow, where you have different branches on your repository, and depending on what's the status of the code, if it's ready for deploy, if it's on development, you can have different branches where you can organize it, and that makes it better for a teamwork. They know where things are, they know if it's complete, if it's under work by other person. So this is a very interesting way to managing the repositories. The other topic that we're going to talk in this video is how to manage the tools or equipment of the physical things, like more the technical things in hardware, to be able to have a correct way to work remotely. So I have in this, I will go deeper, and I have a couple of recommendations. And my recommendation on tip number one is have an office. So this goes, if it's possible, this goes against the remote thing that we are talking about. But for electronics, you might need things that are high valuable in price or very big, bulky. So you still need a place where you can have this kind of advanced equipment that you might not use in the everyday, but for the final phase of a project, you might need it, things like that. So if you have a concentration of developers in certain zones or city, it will be good to have that office in there to be able to do the job. And in our case, for example, we do have pick and place machines. So it's not something that you can ship to a developer to do things at home. And we have two pick and place machines. We have a reflow oven. So those are things that needs to be done on the office. We also have 3D printers, regular and resin ones. There are many developers that have their own 3D printer, but for example, resin ones generate fumes that are not very good, so it's not good for them to have it at home. So that's why it's better to have it in the office. And also in our case, we have solar panels. We are doing work with solar panels, so we need physically solar panels and also all the equipments to be able to measure the efficiency, send information to the cloud. So that's something that has to be there. So we still have a central office, but people only goes and work there whenever they need some of the things there, or whenever they want to. If they are bored at home and they want to give it a change, they have the ability to go to the office if they are in that city. The other recommendation is to have courier accounts. You will be shipping things to your developers, to your clients, get things from Mouser, from DigiKey, from China. So you need to have shipment logistics. And we figure out after 1 year of working with these providers without an account that when we got the account, that in our case, hopefully it's for you, it's free to get, we could have reductions of cost in almost 50% of the normal price for a shipment. And also you can have pickups and things like that you could have in the other ones, but they pay you more attention if you have an account with them. And another thing that it's interesting is what happened, for example, in China. We bought a lot of things in Alibaba, so we go there, look for components, and having a little bit like this meme. In China happens something inverse. You have a list of providers, you see that there's one that it's cheaper, you go there and everything is done. You say, I wanted for you to ship it here, and the cost of shipment were higher than the other providers. So they have lower cost per components, but I think that they win money on the shipment. So one of the things that you can do, we have done it, is ask first if their provider are willing to do the shipment with your account, either the DHL or FedEx, and if so, you have control of that. So that's a very important thing to do. And going a little bit deeper on the tools, you might have a friend, a relative that in their house, in their garage, have a wide variety of tools, looks shiny, and you ask them how often you use it, and they say like, I use the screwdriver once every 3 months or things like that. And then you figure out that they have thousands of dollars of tools that they barely use. So one of the advices or things that we follow, it's something that Adam Savage from Mythbusters says, that was, buy cheap tools until you know what you really need for that tool, then buy the best tool that you can afford. Another way of saying it, and he said it also that way in a video, was if you need a screwdriver, buy the cheapest one that you can get, or the set of screwdrivers, the cheapest one that you can get. And when you break them, you will figure out that you are using two of them most, and the other ones you didn't use at all. So after that, you should go buy a better one, better brand of the two that you use the most. And we can kind of apply this to the tools that hardware developer or electronic engineer needs in order to do the everyday job. So let's get into it. This is a bench multimeter, very good tool, high precision, very nice. This is the cost, 390. And for some of the developments, and this is a disclaimer, it depends on what you do, and you have to see if the recommendation makes sense for you, or if you, for the specific project, you need to go to the high end in every phase. That's good, but they might be one tool that you can go lower. So for example, you can have one of these in the office, but you can just have one of these that it's way cheaper than that. And there are times where you're doing something that it could be very complicated, but in that moment you need to measure continuity. So sounds, yeah, that's that, and voltage. Some of the cases, that's everything that you need. So you can buy one of these, you can buy one of these also. My advice in this term is that you have at least two of these battery multimeter. They are battery powered, so when the batteries are running low, the measurement can change a little bit. So it's good to have two, and also a DC power supply, so you can compare the values of the multimeters versus the power supply. That's my advice. Other thing that it's very important to solder, you need to do reworks on the boards that you get. So you can have something like this. It's $495. It's very nice. It has interchangeable tips. You don't have to unscrew and things to change from one tip to another. That's good. But you can also have one of these that it's $90. It also includes a heat gun. So you have a wide varieties of tools for the price less than that. So that's a good option. If you want to go with something a little bit fancier, you can go with this one. This was the first one that I got after having the regular solder iron that you get on the hardware stores with no temperature regulations. So this was a good improvement. I like it a lot. So it's nice. And also in terms of the power supply, you can have something like this, that it's very bulky, very robust. I remember in the university we have things like that, and what we had was taking one of the alligator clips, put a coin in there, and take the other one and start doing short circuits in order to have smiley faces on a coin or something like that, and this would stand out with no problem. But then it's not something that you are going to use it for, so you can go with something cheaper. That you will not do that on this one. I wouldn't recommend it. But for the regular job that you have to do, it's good enough. This is dual power supply. So if you need dual, just get two of them. It's a cheaper way to have a set of tools in order to work remotely. Other tool that you can have for your team in the office, it's the microscope. It is very interesting and very important when you need to do rework or solder things that are very small, like 06, 03 resistor capacitors, 04, 02, that are very small. I remember that the first time I used this one, I had to make a rework on a board, so there were two pads and they were crossed, so I have to cut them and put wires to do to cross them. And this was amazing. When I was doing it with that, I had full control of it, and after a while I tried to do it without it, and I was not even possible to see what I was doing. So a tool like this is very important for the rework of the soldering, or make sure that the thing is soldered correctly. But you can go with things like this. This is a digital microscope. It's only $69, $68, and you can have video record on that or photograph. That's something nice. You can do it with this one, but you have to have a camera or with an adapter that plugs into this side on the top to be able to record. So it's extra things, extra steps. And if you want to go a little bit cheaper, you can have some like this, $41, and you can plug it into your computer, and then you can have your tools for doing your soldering. And the last tool that I want to talk about is the oscilloscope. So this is a good oscilloscope that it's able to do analog and digital signals. It's very important for us. For example, we work a lot with digital electronics, so we are more interested on the digital part. But yeah, this is one of the equipments that you can have in the office. But if you have a distributed team and they are working on those things, one way of working with it is to have cheaper tools. So if you are aiming to analog, you can use these digital oscilloscopes that you plug into your computer. There's a software for that, and you can have the same signals that you will have on your regular oscilloscope. And if you're going for the digital part, then you can use things like this. This is a 16 channel, if I'm not wrong, yeah, 16 input channels where you can analyze digital signals. There's several prices depending on the frequency that you need to use them. A disclaimer is that you have to make sure what is the thing that you're testing. Because of the frequency, it is very important to make sure that the frequency that you're measuring, it's the one that you will be able to get. And you can go even further if you are doing simple tests, I2C, something that is not necessarily high speed. Then you can go with something like this, $12. It's 8 channels, low frequency, but it does the work. So if you have people that needs a little bit more sophisticated, then you can go with the other ones, but in general terms, this is a good start. So the last part of the video is to share with you why do I talk about this, or why I'm to talk about these things. So as I said in the beginning, I am the co-founder of DeepSea Developments, a company where we do Internet of Things products, and we have done things since the beginning of the company in a remote way to companies or startups in Canada, in the States, in Spain, in Costa Rica, in Colombia, and after pandemics, we have done it remotely. So before pandemics, this was the team. We were working all in the office, and we were growing at that moment. And this is the team in our last integration that we did. It's a team that is working remotely with this. We did an activity to gather them into one place and be able to share with them. It was a very interesting thing to have your team motivated, and we are able to do it remotely successfully. And this is everything for today's video. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoy it. I hope it is useful for your venture of having a remote hardware team, and that you're able to build great things with the information that I give to you. If you have any comment, any suggestions, you have work in any other methodologies, things that I say didn't work for you, please put it in the comment section below. We will answer to you, and see you next time. Thank you.